Do you remember reading your horoscope as a teenager? Aquarius, a change is coming. Someone close to you is not being honest. Trust your instincts this week. And you'd read it and think, yes, that is exactly what's happening in my life right now. That is me to a T. Except it wasn't. I don't want to be the one to tell you this, but it wasn't. It was written for every Aquarius on the planet, which, depending on the source, is somewhere around, 650 million people. The reason it felt personal is because it was vague enough for anyone to find themselves in it, and you just picked out the bits that fit and ignored the rest. Don't worry, I did it too. A lot of content being created right now by coaches, consultants, and service providers does exactly the same thing. It's written for everyone. It could apply to any human being scrolling the internet on any given day of the week. And just like the horoscope, people skim it, they pick out the bits that loosely apply, and they move on. Nobody shared a horoscope because it moved them. And yet here we are creating content that works in exactly the same way. Vague enough to apply to anyone, specific enough that nobody feels like it's really for them. In this episode of Limitlessly Digital, I want to talk about why we do this, what it costs us, and what changes when you make one simple shift in how you think about who you're actually writing for. There's something in the middle of this conversation that I think is going to challenge how you've been approaching your content, and I'll get to that in a few minutes. If we've not met before, hi, my name's Claire, and I've been helping women over the age of 40 become known and grow their businesses for the last 18 years. And before we go any further, I would really appreciate it if you could just press the heart button below. It helps my videos get seen by more people. And if you're feeling really generous, hit the subscribe button too. Now, I want to say something before we go any further. If you've been creating content for everyone, I get it. What you do genuinely can help a lot of people. That belief is real, and it's probably what got you into this work in the first place. But your offer and your marketing are doing two different jobs. Your offer can be broad. Your marketing can't. When you write for everyone, you're essentially writing for no one in particular. And people feel that when they read it. They consume it the same way they would consume a horoscope. They skim, they nod vaguely, and they move on. Think about it this way. You walk into a supermarket and the shelves are full of products aimed at broad audiences. Beans, bread, milk, packaging designed to be inoffensive and accessible to everyone. That logic works in supermarkets. Apply that logic to your content marketing and it falls apart, because when you try to speak to 650 million people at once, nobody feels like you're talking specifically to them. And feeling spoken to specifically is exactly what makes someone stop scrolling, read the whole thing, and share it. The fear underneath all of this is real. I see it constantly with clients. If I niche down too far, I'll miss people. If I'm too specific, I'll put people off. If I write for her, what about everyone else who might have been interested? What actually happens is the opposite, but I'll come back to that. Most of us have been told at some point to create an ideal client avatar, your soul client. Give her a name, Sarah. She's 42. She runs her own business. She likes yoga and likes to drink oat milk lattes, and she listens to podcasts on her morning walk. And you sit there filling in your spreadsheet thinking, yes, this is useful. I know who I'm talking to now. Except Sarah doesn't exist. She's a fiction you've built in a Google Doc, a Google spreadsheet. You've never spoken to her. You don't know what she says when she's frustrated. You don't know the exact sentence she's typed into a search bar at 11 o'clock at night when she couldn't sleep because something in her business was worrying her. You can't write to a category. You can only write to a person. The person you should actually be writing to already exists. She's not on a spreadsheet. She's in your inbox. She's in your DMs. She's the client who said that thing that stopped you in your tracks. The one whose words you still remember because they were so specific, so honest, so exactly the problem you help people solve. That is your one person. Now, I want to come back to something practical about how you find her and use what she's already told you. I'll get to that bit in a second, because it's the part of this conversation that I think most content advice misses out. I want to spend a few minutes on something that comes up every time I talk about writing for one person, because it's worth being clear about. Pain points work because they create recognition. Someone reads your content and thinks, Yes, that's exactly what's happening for me. The moment of feeling seen is powerful. I've used it, I've seen it land, and I won't pretend otherwise. What I keep coming back to, though, is whether leading purely with struggle is the whole picture. There's something about anchoring your content entirely in pain that starts to feel heavy. Like every post is poking the same bruise. Whereas transformation feels different. You're meeting people where they want to go, not just where they've been, not where they've been stuck. Both earn their place depending on where your audience is in their journey. Pain points pull people in, transformation keeps people moving along. And the question I want you to sit with is which one you tend to reach for by default, and whether that's a conscious choice or if it's just habit. This whole topic deserves its own proper conversation, and I'm going to give it one. So consider this flagged. We're coming back to pain points versus transformation in another episode of Limitlessly Digital, because that question alone could change how you approach every piece of content you create forevermore. Being specific does something that broad content never manages. The more specific you get, the more people feel seen. A post written for one real human being with one real problem gets shared by thousands because someone finally said the exact thing. Vague content gets polite engagement. Specific content gets sent to a best friend with the message, you need to read this. I thought about you while I was watching this, while I was reading this. You know how it goes. Think about the last piece of content that genuinely stopped you from scrolling, or the piece that you shared. I bet it wasn't broad. I bet it was specific enough that it felt like it was written for you. That's not an accident. That's what happened when someone writes for one person instead of for a demographic. The fear is that being specific is going to shrink your audience. What actually happens is it magnetizes the right part of your audience. The people you can genuinely help, the people who are ready, the people who will become your best clients, they feel found and they resonate with your content. Everyone else scrolls past, and that's completely fine because they were never the people you were talking to begin with. And this is where you have your true mindset shift from casting a wide net and hoping for the best to writing something so true and so specific that the right person reads it and thinks, she's talking about me, I want to work with her. Now, coming back to this, how to find your one person, the practical bit, because I want to make it as concrete and as possible without sounding too wishy-washy. Your one person already exists. You don't need to invent her. Go back through your DMs, go back through your emails, find the client who described their problem to you in a way that made you think, yes, exactly that. Find the person who said after working with you, I finally feel like I know what I'm doing, or I can't believe how simple this actually is, or I've been stuck on this for 2 years and now it all makes sense. Read their words back slowly. That language, what they've written down or what they've said in videos, that is your content. The way they describe the problem before they found you is your hook. The way they described how it felt afterwards is your transformation. You don't need to make any of it up. It's already out there. The best copy I have ever written has come directly from things that clients have said to me. Not paraphrasing, not polished into something more articulate. Their actual words reflected back to the next person who is sitting exactly where they were. This is also why the spreadsheet avatar kind of falls short every time. Sarah and her oat milk latte can't tell you how she described her problem at 11 o'clock at night when she couldn't sleep. A real client can do that. And when you sit down to write your next piece of content, I want you to do one thing. Before you open Canva, before you think about the format, before you decide which platform it's going to go out on, at the top, write one sentence at the top of your notes. I am writing this for someone who is feeling ... Finish it. Something specific, something true, something that one real person in your world has actually felt. Then write to her. Watch what happens. Your offer can help everyone. Your marketing can't be for everybody. The moment you try to speak to everyone, you speak to no one. The horoscope works because it's vague enough to apply to 650 million people. Your content should be doing the opposite of that. Specific enough that the right person reads it and thinks, how did she know? Writing for one person is not about shrinking your reach. It's about making the people you can genuinely help feel found. When that happens, the right clients show up already trusting you, already knowing you're getting, already halfway there. So today I've talked about why we default to writing for everyone, the difference between a spreadsheet avatar and a real person, and why being specific pulls in more of the right people rather than fewer. And I flagged something that I want to come back to in a future video, whether you should be leading with your content with pain points or transformations. That one's going to get its own episode. So if this has landed for you today in any way, shape or form, please share it with somebody who needs to hear it. And if you've been sitting on the fence about who you're actually creating content for, this is your nudge today. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.